Yeah. What's going on, family? We back again with another episode of Say What's on Your Mind. Welcome to the Dulos house. Rick Dulos in the building. Hey, so man, today, man, I really want to dive in to the story behind the music that I've been putting out. I still have 3 songs to release, but what I really wanted to do is to really begin to do a deep dive into uh, what really brought on the emotion and the lyrics to the songs that I've been doing lately. And so today, man, it's going to be interesting. Please stick around to the end. You would want to. This is definitely going to be a series of videos because we're talking about events that have happened over the course of 2 years. Man, my family and I, man, we've been involved in this thing for 2 years. So I definitely would encourage you to stick around to the end and subscribe. Subscribe to the channel so that you can get updates when I begin to upload the rest of, I would say, series of videos. Uh, this week, you're going to get the introduction where I really want to lay a framework. I have an object lesson that I want to share with you that actually brought on the emotion behind the music and also describes a little bit of what happened. And then over the course of time, I want to unfold this thing. So definitely you would want to stick around. And I also have a story that I was reminded of that I'm relating to this. Um, and so stick around. I thank you for tuning in. Uh, appreciate that very much. You don't have to. So without further ado, I'm Rick Dulos, and this is Say What's on Your Mind. Let's get it in. All right. So, as I said, I want to begin to unfold this story that has happened over the course of 2 years that has birthed, I would say, 4 songs. 2 of them were already written. I went back in because they really communicated still what was happening. And I actually added lyrics to it and changed some lyrics so that it may fit better. But the other one is complete. It just communicates exactly how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking, right? And so, first, the object lesson. So let's say you had 4 sheets of paper. You had these 4 sheets of paper, and a friend saw you had these 4 sheets of paper, and he asked to hold one, or he asked, can he have one? And these papers are clean, unblemished, right? In good shape, right? Really in perfect shape, let's say. And so that's what I did. I loaned him, or I gave him 1 sheet of paper. And instead of taking what he was given and making something new, turning it into something better, let's say, right? Or maybe something useful, right? Giving it more value, right? Maybe teaching it new skills. It could even be multi-purpose, have many different uses. So I could have given it to him. And when I would ask, hey, how are you doing with that whatever that is, that thing that I've given you, how is it going? He would have said to me, I turned it into something of value. I made it into something else. But instead, what I got back wasn't something that was nurtured, cared for, loved, and even made into something more. Rather, I got back a crumbled sheet of paper. Sheet of paper that was broken, crumbled, torn, scarred, even marked up, to the point where even in unraveling it and trying to figure out what happened and what was going on, new tears were made. The pain, the abuse, and everything that has happened was just so devastating. I no longer have the pristine and clean sheet of paper that I gave. And so I tell this story so that you can understand the emotion behind the music and the story and what was really happening. This was something that was very, very dear to me, or is very, very dear to me. Something that I love with all of my heart. Something that I and my wife has put our life into. And this is what I got. And so I give you that example so that you can understand the story. What birthed these songs. Yeah, I wanted to use this object lesson in order to help you guys understand the emotion behind the songs, so that when you're hearing some of the words in the song, you can understand like why. It's like, man, well, what are you doing? Even elementary, right? And I don't want to get into the songs just yet and get ahead of myself. But we are now having to put the pieces back together. We're having to rebuild. And this ultimately is what birthed the story. These 6 songs. Right. Which now reminds me of a story I wanted to tell. I remember as a kid, in elementary school. I was in elementary school. I was, maybe this might have been 2nd or 3rd grade. And the school, they still do this to the day today, right? They had a fundraiser where we would sell chocolates. But this particular one is not the chocolates that are in the boxes. Man, if I would have had one of those, I probably would have been in better shape. But this was where they give you the magazine with all of the different types of chocolate, and then you go around to your neighbors, you sell the chocolate, and then you collect the money and you bring it to school, and the school orders the chocolate, and voila, you go back and you pass the chocolate out to the people who ordered. But not this little boy. This was the first time me doing something like this. So I take the pamphlet, and I grew up in Spanish Harlem in the Bronx, back and forth as a child. But this happened in Spanish Harlem. I was 106 Madison and Park, in the projects over there. So I went to the neighbors. You know what I mean? My grandmother, we lived, I'm not going to, building 50. You know what I mean? Grandma lived on the 7th floor of the building. And I just went around the building by myself, just selling chocolate to the different ones, knocking on doors, collecting money. So I was able to sell $19, $20 worth of chocolate. But what happened was I saw the money. It was all singles. So for me at that age, it looked like a lot of money. And so I had the bright idea that I was going to keep the money. I decided, no, I'm not going to bring this back to school. Rather, I'm going to spend this money. And now you can see the ignorance in a child, as if I'm never going to see these neighbors again, or as if I'm not going to have to go back to school and have the teachers ask. But also around this time, and my mom is going to watch this video, I didn't attend school every day. So when I left the house as a child, and in this time in the 80s, man, we went to school by ourselves, me and a friend, a couple friends. So there was a few times I played hooky. I didn't go to class. I didn't go to school. We kind of hung out, rode the trains. And so I decided, I'm going to take this money and I'm going to hang out with my friends. We're going to go to the store. Insane. So thinking about it, that's what I did. I stole these people's money and I lied. But the good thing to this story is my grandmother was the type of person who really wasn't having it. We're not going to do this around here. You're not going to be running around here misrepresenting. You know what I mean? So, and obviously, I don't know what I was thinking as a child, as if grandma was never going to find out, lived in the projects. Grandma, big cuz, everybody, whatever happened with me, they knew it. So they found out. My grandmother found out, and there was repercussions. I got in trouble. And because of the repercussions, because she dealt with the issue, I never did that again. I had it in my mind, I am never doing this again. But not so in this situation, which complicates it even more, which makes it even more upsetting. No repercussions, no correction, no discipline. Let's just put it over there. Let's just sweep it under and forget about it. Gotta be gracious. And so, because of that, the situation wasn't dealt with in the way that it should have been. And there's a lot we can say there, but it just wasn't dealt with. And so now, all of the pieces that have been shattered, we're seeking to put back together. And the way I've been coping in this season is I've been making music. And it's been very soothing. Go back and check the first episode out. I actually explained that, Say What's on Your Mind, episode 1. I explained that there, where it has become an outlet for me. Truly an outlet. Before that, I did it for fun. I just had fun. I just enjoyed doing the music. This was truly an outlet where I had things on my heart, my mind, that I really didn't know how to communicate. And so I just believed that it was best for me to put it in music to communicate. Because if I think about how I would have communicated it otherwise, it might not have been in the best way, which is wrong. Especially for me as a believer in Jesus, right? I have to remember who I am. And even through this journey, I forgot who I was for a hot second. I did. And you can hear that in Genesis, which is soon to come out. Well, let me not say soon. What's coming out next toward the end of March is Valley. And Valley is an interesting song, which I really don't want to get into now, but that be on the lookout for that. Follow it. I'm putting it all in a playlist on my YouTube channel so that you can have access to all of the content relating to the story. Remember to subscribe, stay up to date on what's happening. But yes, Valley. And then after the Valley, it's Genesis. So, in these songs, I just kind of want to share this note with you. In these songs, they're not a retelling of the story. They are just a snapshot of where I was mentally and emotionally. Now, what I want to do in these episodes and talking with you is unpack that story and giving it from my point of view. And also, there's a podcast that is in the works that we want to do. And there, we're really going to do a deep dive on where we are as a family. So I encourage you to look out for that. That's in the making. So I don't have a time frame on when it will happen, but it's in the making. So be on the lookout for that. But these songs really just express my emotion. What I really wanted to do is I wanted to take where I was at that moment and put it on paper and then put it to music. So that's what you're going to get in these songs. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, that 4 of these songs were written on a spot in the heat of the moment and situation. 2 of them were not. They were written previously, but one of them just communicated so clearly where I was, and so I used it. The other one I took and I totally redid. I removed some lyrics and I added a bunch more lyrics so that it can rightly communicate the current state of mind. With that in mind, also, along with this horrible situation, there are life things that happen. It's not, everything is not all the way good. There are things that are happening at home. And even because of this, the home is crumbling and seemingly falling apart, right? Especially because we're blinded to the situation and really unable to fully see Jesus in the midst of it. So there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of trauma and emotional baggage that is bringing about tension, strife, communication issues, arguments, misunderstandings. I mean, there's just a whole host of things that's happening. And it's hard. And that saying, hurt people is very true. Though not intentional, that pain we feel when we give into it, it really moves us to do things we ought not to. And because all we feel in a moment is the pain, we still do it, being blind and numb to how the other might be feeling, because our pain is just so big, right? And there's a ton more I can say about that. But what I want to share now is just a psalm that really speaks to where my mind was throughout the course of this season, right? Throughout the course of this 2 years. And I believe it really captures where I was and where my heart is. And the last episode of this podcast,
I actually mentioned that I use the Psalms in these moments because they speak so clearly to the heart, especially David. He dealt with a lot. And if there's anyone out there who really don't know who David is in the Hebrew scriptures, the Old Testament scriptures, he is a king of Israel. He was one of the best kings, or if not the best king Israel had. They had peace during his reign. He is the father of Solomon, and he is the one that is spoken about in the end of 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel. The one that Samuel went to his father Jesse, saw his 7 sons, really had 8, but it was 7. None of them was it, so he anointed the youngest, which was David, who was ruddy, right? He was very good looking, but ruddy, rough looking, red. And so this is the David that I'm speaking about. And let me just get this scripture. In Psalm 143. Now, it is not known exactly at which point he wrote this psalm, but it speaks clearly. Some make reference to 2 Samuel chapter 7, but we really don't know when exactly this psalm was written. And then 2 Samuel chapter 7, you can go and check it out for yourself, but that's when, and I believe it's chapter 7 if I'm remembering correctly, Samuel came to David when David wanted to build a temple. And first he told him, yes, go ahead and do it. But then God spoke to him, and then he said, no, you too much blood on your hands. Hey, your son would do it. So that's that chapter. And so in Psalm 143, and I'm reading in the NET, the New English Translation. Like I said, that's a translation that I like to study from. I do read from the New King James at times, but mainly I use the New American Standard Bible. I like that translation. Now, I'm not going to dive into this psalm completely. I didn't do a deep dive and really dig into it. I am. I just I scratched the surface, let's just say. Context, and there's a couple verses that stood out, so I scratched the surface. So I'm not going to dig in and try to do a verse by verse teaching on this thing. I just want to read it to you and just kind of point out some of the things that really stuck out during this season. Psalm 143, verse 1 says, O Lord, hear my prayer, pay attention to my plea for help. Because of your faithfulness and justice, answer me. Do not sit in judgment on your servant, for no one alive is innocent before you. Man, I read that fast. I mean, there is so much here. So verse 1, quick, he says, because of your faithfulness and justice. Because God is a faithful God, and because God, you are just, you are right in your decisions and what you do. Answer me, right? David is asking, hey, Lord, answer my prayer. Do not sit in judgment on your servant. Don't judge me. Something that David, and I said this in my last episode, David was aware of something about God's character. For no one alive is innocent before you. This is almost repentance right here. He says, don't judge me, Lord, because I know that no one alive is innocent before you, right? Remember, because he's just, he's the righteous one. Certainly my enemies chase me. They smash me into the ground. They force me to live in dark regions, like those who have been dead for ages. So David is, in a sense, tormented by his enemies. He says, my strength leaves me. I am absolutely shocked. I recall the days of old. I recall the old days. I meditate on all you have done. I reflect on your accomplishments. And these are the two verses that really stick out to me. He says, I have become weak. My strength has left me. And that phrase, absolutely shocked, is the sense of it is to be astounded, confused even. And this was that season for me. I was confused. utterly confused at what I was seeing. And so I'm crying out to the Lord, like, Lord, I am weak and confused. But that's why I love David. He says, I recall the days, the old days. I meditate on all you have done. So if you've been walking with the Lord for a certain amount of time, however long, you should have a track record. There should be things that God did in your life. There is no way. I just don't believe it. Like, there is no way you can walk truly with all of your heart with Jesus and not have him do something in you and in your life. And so David is like, man, like, I'm recalling these days. Not only am I recalling these days, I'm meditating on all you have done, and I'm reflecting on your accomplishments, not mine, not some other human, a man, a woman, but God's. And so this is something that has kept me, where I get my mind off of myself, which brings depression. Me, woe is me. So I take my mind off of myself and I begin to reflect on God and what he has done. And by his power and spirit, I am lifted. And it's truly a lifting because he does it. I can't explain it. I can't explain how it happens. But he does it. And he doesn't always do that right away, because there's something that you have to go through. There are things you have to learn. You're a weakened, so there are areas where you have to be strengthened. And then he comes and he does it. And so the rest of this psalm, he says, I spread my hands out to you in prayer. My soul thirsts for you in a parched land. Answer me quickly, Lord. My strength is fading. Do not reject me, or I will join those descending into the grave. This is a love for God, and that's a necessary thing. John 14 speaks of that, and that's actually one of the references I have here for verse 5. Just knowing, and let me just mention that, I forgot to mention that the Bible promises, Jesus himself promised that he would never leave nor forsake us. We read that in the book of Hebrews chapter 13:5. Not only that, but we have in Matthew chapter 28 where he's promising his disciples, he is sending them out. He is saying, go, and lo, I will never leave you. I will be with you to the end of the age. Right? How much more us? And then in John 14, he actually says, if you love me, obey me, and then the Father and I will come to you, make our home in you, reveal ourselves to you. So for those of you out there who've made it this far in a video and are watching and really don't know who the Lord is, listen, if your heart is truly not in it and you're cynically just saying, oh, if you're true, then that is not a real heart that's searching. That is cynical. You can be a skeptic and have doubt and really want to know the truth. That's a heart that God will reveal himself to. But someone who is just hard stop, I don't believe, if it's true, show me, you will remain in your place. Albeit, I know that there are examples of him showing himself anyway. But I could imagine that with those people, what they see, they don't believe. They attribute it to something else. So just a side note, the love of God. And David had a true love of God. He was actually called the man after God's own heart. And he says here, I forget the verse where I was at. Let me go back to verse 6. I spread my hands out to you in prayer. My soul thirsts for you in a parched land. Answer me quickly, Lord. My strength is fading. Do not reject me, or I will join those descending into the grave. May I hear about your loyal love in the morning, for I trust in you. Show me the way I should go because I long for you. Rescue me from my enemies, O Lord. I run to you for protection. Think about Psalm 91. The Lord is a mighty strong tower. Well, Psalm 91 actually speaks of abiding under the shelter of the Most High. And then there's an exchange in Psalms 91. I love Psalm 91. There's an exchange there where first the psalmist is saying, I will say of the Lord. And then God is saying, because you have made, the psalmist actually is saying, first the psalmist expresses what he would say and what he says. And then he turns to the reader and says, because you have made the Lord your trust, then this is what the Lord would do for you. Then at the end, the Lord says, I will. And so I love that psalm. And fun fact, I read that that psalm was actually used in Jewish exorcisms long, long ago. Interesting, huh? All right, so let me finish this psalm. May I hear verse 8 about your loyal love in the morning, for I trust in you. Show me the way I should go because I long for you. Rescue me from my enemies, O Lord. I run to you for protection. Teach me to do what pleases you, for you are my God. May your kind presence lead me into a level land, O Lord. For the sake of your reputation, revive me. Because of your justice, rescue me from trouble. David is really appealing to God's character. He is saying, Lord, you are perfect and holy. And before all of the world, Lord, basically, show yourself to be who you are, for lack of a better term. And he says, rescue me from trouble. As a demonstration of your loyal love, your mercy, destroy my enemies, annihilate all who threaten my life, for I am your servant. David was crazy. Now, of course, we don't use that type of language now, being in the New Testament, because we're in an age of grace where God is not willing that any would perish, but that all would come to him and be saved. So we're in the age of John 3:16 and 17. For God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. And that is his love. So we're going to stop there. If you've made it this far, please subscribe. I thank you for hanging out this long. And we're going to come back and we're going to continue the story. Yeah. What's on your mind?